Daniel's The Breakthrough. Daniel sat in the oppressive darkness of the dungeon, his mind racing as he replayed Arya's words over and over. The echo of her voice had rekindled a fire within him, a spark of hope and determination that had been smothered by despair. He focused his heightened senses on the chains that bound him, scanning each link for any sign of weakness. His sharp eyes zeroed in on a single link, slightly worn and rusted compared to the others. He could see where the metal had been corroded, a small imperfection that might just be his salvation. Summoning every ounce of his vampire strength, Daniel gripped the chains, his muscles tensing as he prepared to exert a force far beyond human capacity. As he strained against the chains, his mind was flooded with flashbacks of Arya's struggle for survival. He remembered her defiance in the face of insurmountable odds, the way she had fought to maintain her independence and spirit. Despite the darkness closing in around her, he saw her scavenging for food, finding shelter in the harshest of conditions, and banding together with other street kids to create a semblance of family and community. Her resilience had always been a source of inspiration for him, a beacon of hope and strength. Arya's face appeared in his mind's eye, her eyes filled with determination and love. "You must find a way to break free," her apparition had said, and now those words drove him forward. Gritting his teeth, he poured all his strength into the task, focusing on the weak link with laser precision. The metal groaned in protest, the sound echoing through the dungeon like a cry of defiance. Daniel felt the link give slightly, and a surge of adrenaline coursed through him. He pushed harder, his muscles burning with the effort, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The pain was excruciating, but he welcomed it, using it to fuel his determination. With a final, mighty effort, the weak link snapped. The sound of the breaking chain reverberated through the dungeon, a triumphant cry in the silence. Daniel's wrist was free, and the manacle clattered to the floor. A wave of relief and triumph washed over him, but he knew his struggle was far from over. He still had to free his other limbs and find a way out of the dungeon itself. Encouraged by his initial success, Daniel quickly set to work on the remaining chains. His body ached from the prolonged confinement, but the taste of freedom spurred him on. One by one, he broke the links, each victory a step closer to his goal. The memories of Arya's resilience and strength kept him going, a constant reminder of what he was fighting for. Finally, the last chain fell away, and Daniel collapsed onto the cold stone floor, his body trembling with exhaustion and relief. He lay there for a moment, his chest heaving as he caught his breath, the reality of his situation sinking in. He was still trapped in the dungeon, but he was no longer bound. The chains that had held him captive were now nothing but broken remnants on the floor. Daniel pushed himself to his feet, his limbs weak but free. He glanced around the dungeon, the darkness now feeling less oppressive, the air less suffocating. He was no longer a prisoner of his own despair. He had found the strength to break free, inspired by Arya's unyielding spirit. His next challenge was finding a way out of the dungeon. The heavy door loomed before him, a barrier that seemed insurmountable. But Daniel was no longer the broken soul who had lain in the darkness, consumed by guilt and grief. He was a man determined to honor the memory of the woman he had loved, to live the life they had dreamed of together. With renewed resolve, Daniel approached the door, his mind racing with possible strategies for escape. He tested the handle, but it was locked, the thick wood and metal, designed to keep even the strongest of prisoners confined. Undeterred, he examined the hinges and the surrounding walls, looking for any potential weaknesses. He remembered Arya's words once more, her voice a guiding light in the darkness. "Remember your strength, remember our love." Those words had given him the courage to break his chains, and now they would guide him to freedom. He would find a way out of the dungeon, no matter how long it took, no matter what obstacles stood in his way. For Arya, for their love, and for the future he had promised her, Daniel would not give up. The darkness of the dungeon would not claim him. He had broken his chains, and now he would break free entirely. Carrying the memory of Arya with him as a source of strength and hope,